High above the Arctic, a colossal river of air spins, a permanent feature called the polar vortex. Picture a giant spinning top over the North Pole. That's the vortex, a band of fierce winds trapping the coldest air on Earth. In the polar night, when the sun vanishes for months, this fortress of cold grows even stronger. The vortex has two layers: the lower troposphere, where our weather forms, and the upper, faster stratosphere. These winds act as a barrier, separating Arctic chill from milder southern air. Most of the year, this barrier holds, keeping Europe's winters relatively mild. The polar vortex is a key player in Earth's climate, balancing heat between the poles and the equator. When strong and circular, it keeps weather patterns predictable. But the vortex isn't invincible. It can weaken, wobble, or even split. When that happens, the cold escapes its Arctic prison. Suddenly, the polar vortex isn't just a distant phenomenon. It's a force that can reshape weather for millions. Its disruption sends a chilling message from the top of the world. The fortress of cold becomes a messenger, reminding us of the power and fragility of our planet's climate. And when it falters, the consequences ripple far beyond the Arctic. When the polar vortex weakens, its tight circle unravels into wavy lobes that plunge south. These lobes unleash Arctic air into regions unprepared for such cold. Northern Europe is often in the crosshairs. The vortex doesn't move south. It simply lets the cold escape, like opening a giant freezer door. Temperatures plummet and the air turns dense and heavy, pushing aside Europe's usual mildness. The clash of frigid and moist air triggers blizzards and historic snowfalls. Rain becomes endless snow, and familiar landscapes are transformed overnight. The polar vortex's change isn't a new storm, it's the old system losing control. The guards are gone, and the Arctic cold is on the loose. For millions, this means life is about to be buried under snow and ice. The great river of air has shifted, and a continent must brace for impact. The polar vortex's weakness is Europe's deep freeze. Its meandering path brings the Arctic to their doorstep, and the consequences are immediate and dramatic. The polar vortex doesn't break down by chance, it's triggered by powerful planetary waves rising from below. These waves disrupt the vortex, causing sudden stratospheric warming. Temperatures in the stratosphere can soar by 50 degrees in days. This sudden heat weakens the vortex, slowing or even reversing its winds. The disruption trickles down, destabilizing the jet stream below. A strong vortex keeps the jet stream straight. A weak one makes it buckle, pulling Arctic air south. Deep troughs in the jet stream become channels for frigid air to invade Europe. This atmospheric chain reaction links the stratosphere to snow on the ground. Scientists are still unraveling the details, but understanding these links could help us predict extreme cold snaps. The science is complex, but the impact is simple. A wobble high above can freeze life below. The polar vortex's story is one of invisible forces with visible consequences. Northern Europe has felt the polar vortex's wrath firsthand. In November 2025, a weakened vortex sent Siberian air surging west, burying Scandinavia in record snow. Cities like Oslo and Stockholm ground to a halt. Even London awoke to a rare, disruptive whiteout. The cold lingered, freezing canals in Berlin and blanketing the Scottish Highlands. Lake-effect snow hammered Germany and Poland, overwhelming towns and resources. Blizzard winds made travel perilous, isolating communities. These events echo past cold snaps, all traced to a faltering polar vortex. A distant atmospheric wobble can transform Europe overnight. When snow and cold descend, Europe's transport network grinds to a halt. Highways become impassable, airports shut down, and railways freeze. In 2025, thousands were stranded on motorways. Airports like Heathrow and Schiphol cancelled hundreds of flights. The economic cost soared as goods couldn't reach shops, and people missed work and vital appointments. Even resilient rail lines, like Norway's Bergen Line, closed under avalanche risk. Rural communities were cut off and shelves emptied. The modern world's assumption of constant movement was shattered. A single snowstorm exposed our vulnerability to nature's power. The arteries of Europe simply froze. The polar vortex's deep freeze disrupts daily life far beyond travel. Schools close, parents scramble, and businesses slow as heating systems strain to keep up. Power grids are pushed to the brink, and blackouts leave vulnerable communities at risk. Simple errands become hazardous. Injuries from icy falls spike. Outdoor work grinds to a halt, and the economy stalls as shops empty and events are cancelled. Life shrinks to essentials: warmth, food, and waiting for the thaw. A week of extreme cold can dent a nation's economy. The weather's reach is total, dictated by forces high above. While people struggle, nature adapts to the Arctic blast. Birds flock to feeders, their usual food buried under snow. Small mammals tunnel below for warmth. Larger animals, like deer and foxes, expend precious energy searching for food. Some, like Scotland's mountain hare, are built for this, camouflaged and resilient. Snow insulates the ground, protecting plants and insects from deep frost. When it melts, it replenishes rivers and groundwater. But a rapid thaw can trigger floods, compounding the disruption. Nature's response is a mix of hardship and opportunity. The polar vortex tests every living thing. Its impact is written across the landscape, from frozen rivers to hidden tunnels beneath the snow. Europe's snowstorms are part of a bigger climate story. The Arctic is warming twice as fast as the rest of the planet, weakening the polar vortex. Paradoxically, a warmer world can mean harsher winters in some places. Climate change isn't just about warming, it's about disruption and shifting patterns. Scientists debate the links, but one thing is clear. What happens in the Arctic affects us all. The polar vortex is a barometer of planetary health. Its erratic behavior signals a climate system in flux. Images of snowbound cities are messages from a changing world. The Arctic's fate is tied to billions of lives far to the south. The polar vortex connects us all in a global web of cause and effect. The polar vortex's return is more than a weather headline. It's a lesson in planetary forces. These events test our resilience and reveal our dependence on a stable climate. They bring hardship, but also a stark beauty and a sense of shared challenge. Understanding the vortex demystifies the weather and prepares us for a volatile future. Knowledge is our first step toward adaptation. The polar vortex connects the Arctic to Europe, the stratosphere to our streets. By paying attention to these rhythms, we learn about our world's power and fragility. The snow will melt, but the lessons must remain.